Local programming on KRWG Public Media made possible in part by viewers like you. Thank you.
This is KRWG Public Media, TV, radio, online. News that matters. Now, across the Mesilla Valley and the borderland, the stories that shape our community. From the KRWG Broadcast Center at New Mexico State University, this is Newsmakers.
Up front this week, rollbacks to the Clean Water Act by the Trump administration could have a big effect in New Mexico. We should note the rollbacks are being challenged in federal courts through multiple lawsuits, and the battles may go on for some time. But as Fiona St. Pierre reports, some local conservationists are very concerned.
Under the new rule, ephemeral waters, those that flow only in response to rainfall, are not protected. That's 88% of our rivers and streams, amounting to over 88,000 stream miles. In addition, the number of protected wetlands is substantially decreased under the new rule, leading to a potential loss of flood and pollution control, wildlife habitat, and recreation. But the state may be able to mitigate the impact. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency recently announced a grant of nearly $670,000 to the New Mexico Environment Department. The funding will support management programs for non-point source water pollution, which is caused when rainfall or snowmelt carries pollutants into rivers, lakes, and other bodies of water. To understand more about how the changes could impact our region, I met with Grant County residents who are trying to bring an extra layer of protection to the Gila River watershed. Brett Myrick is fifth-generation New Mexican and advocates for Senator Tom Udall's federal legislation to designate the Gila watershed as wild and scenic.
Well, first, I believe that, the Gila wilderness being the first designated wilderness in our country, setting the precedent for that. And here we have these waterways, these watersheds coming out of America's first designated wilderness. It stands to reason that those waters will be protected just as the wilderness is protected. Once it has wild and scenic river designation, there would be no interest. It would be able to come in after the fact and, put in a paper pulp mill or, some other type of industry that would then be able to pollute those waters with toxic chemicals or anything like that. So absolutely, the Gila River then would be protected, and that water would stay clean for the farmers and ranchers to be able to irrigate their crops and water their livestock.
It's not just the rollbacks to the Clean Water Act that have some residents concerned. It's also reduced protections under the Endangered Species Act. These changes could potentially threaten local wildlife. Michael Robinson, senior conservation advocate with the Center for Biological Diversity, says the consequences could be grave.
Some of the effects are how projects that would affect habitat that's protected for imperiled species are evaluated. And the Trump administration, a very tricky, frankly, move is saying, if we have protected critical habitat, something that destroys the entirety of the habitat would be considered illegal. But if it just destroys half of it or a quarter, no big deal. Well, the problem is that these are species, for example, the yellow-billed cuckoo, that's already on the brink of extinction.
The yellow-billed cuckoo is just one of many migratory birds that depend on the Gila River for a nesting ground. Currently, the U.S. Department of Fish and Wildlife is working to establish a protected habitat designation for the western population segment. I'm standing along the banks of the Gila River outside of Cliff, New Mexico, where spring rains are helping drive water downstream. But it's the process of ephemeral streams leading into a river like the Gila that could be at risk with changes to the Clean Water Act. And those changes could have devastating impacts on both native wildlife and the local economy. All of these changes could mean potential issues for New Mexico tourism. According to the NMED, much of New Mexico's outdoor recreation depends on our state having clean and protected water resources. Dirtier water equals less recreation. According to a 2018 report from the New Mexico Tourism Department, a key objective is to grow visitation for New Mexico's outdoor recreational activities. As of 2018, 2018, visitor spending increased by 7%, with visitors spending a total of $7.1 billion. Much of that was used on recreation and lodging. Allison Civic, Executive Director for the Gila Resources Information Project, says the Gila is essential to the region.
The Gila River is a key part of our outdoor recreation economy here in Grant County. And so, a lot of people come to this area of New Mexico because we have the nation's first wilderness area, established in 1924. We also have the Gila River, the state's last free-flowing river and one of the few remaining in the Southwest. And so these sort of iconic aspects of this area of the state are really critical to our outdoor recreation economy.
According to the Pew Charitable Trust, the Gila and San Francisco rivers, along with their tributaries, are one of the largest undammed watersheds in the lower 48 states. The rivers provide traditional uses, such as hunting and fishing, but also support a broad spectrum of outdoor recreation, a key driver for New Mexico's economy. For KRWG Public Media, I'm Fiona St. Pierre.
Time to check in with the Aggie Vision crew for a look at what's happening at New Mexico State University. This week, a story that will make you want to earn a green thumb. A look at the Horticulture Forum.
I never thought that I was going to join the club. Honestly, that's something kind of very interesting for me. It all started in a very hectic semester and they invited me in. And I was like, okay, yeah, maybe I can do the de-stress and learn a little bit more about plants. And I fell in love with it to the point that I wanted to be here every day, propagating, taking care of the greenhouse. And I invite anybody who wants to do the same. So the Horticulture Forum started as a way of us as students from the horticulture department or any other department to kind of come and share our knowledge of plants and then maybe teach each other something, as well as sharing that to the general public or the students. We wanted for them to learn, come here to the greenhouse, relax, maybe learn a little bit of propagation, how to take care of their plants at home. That's how it all started.
It gives them quite a few opportunities to do things out of the class that we don't have available in the formal curriculum. They can grow things, propagate on their own, do a little research, have plant sales, make some money, do community service, go on spring trips. So it opens up quite a bit of extracurricular activity and learning that we can't do in the formal curriculum. So it gives them good off time.
Here at the club, what we focus a lot of is doing sales here at campus. We sell our succulents and then some of the profits we use to, in this case, buy supplies. Recently, we donated some supplies to La Piñon as an institution.
And going over there, we got to meet all the people that helped out, and they told us about their experiences and stuff and what they do and why they do it, and that was like really amazing to hear that they're dedicating their time helping others. So.
We would like to have more members, definitely, so I would like to take this time to open it up to the public, to the general student. It doesn't matter what department you are, just come, see what this is about, relax, learn about plants. It's something so interesting that it's benefit you in the long run. Landscaping, growing, propagating, so everything like that. And that's what we're gonna focus for the next couple of years.
Our background is farming. We came originally from the Midwest, from Nebraska. And George was in the Air Force, and that's what brought us to Holloman Air Force Base and Alamogordo. And we had always said we were going back to farming. So it then became a question of what to farm because we had really wanted to stay here. We liked the climate, we liked the people, liked everything about it. So George gave us a mission, and that was to find a crop that would grow in the desert. So we did all kinds of research at that time, not the internet, but encyclopedias as what grew well in desert. And what we found out was the Tularosa Basin has the exact same climate, everything, the environment, as Iran's pistachio growing regions. Pistachios are a long-term investment. You plant the trees, 7 years later, you should have enough crop to break even. So you'll start having a few nuts on the trees the 5th year, and each year increasing that volume enough to make that 7-year break-even mark. And that should pay your bills for just that 7th year. But the trees don't mature until the 15th, 16th year, and you should be in full production at that time. So we have the female trees, which produce the crop. The male tree is the pollinator. His job in the early spring, the wind takes the pollen and drifts it across the female trees. If that pollen connects with the flower, then the nut that's formed will be filled. But the female has like a false pregnancy each year. If she does not have any pollen available to her, she still puts on nut shells, but they'll be hollow. We have 2 machines that one goes on each side of the tree row. The shaker part has an arm that actually grabs the trunk and shakes the tree, which all the nuts that are fertile will fall, and the other machine has the catcher. And the 2 machines actually have hydraulic tarps that knit together, so everything goes onto the tarps and then is conveyed back into the catch bins. Then it goes to our processing, which then cleans the product up so that we have only in the bag what we want. Then that goes to our roasting building, and we salt and roast or put the flavors on. And then it goes to the packaging, which then packages the bulk product into the different sizes that we then will market to the consumer. They say the pistachio has high, low, no, and the high is high in potassium, has as much potassium in it as a large banana. The low is very low in cholesterol, and the fat is really, really the healthy fat. It's a monounsaturated and good for you. We have people that tell us they haven't changed anything in their diet except started eating pistachios on a daily basis, and they'll lower their blood pressure and get their cholesterol down. There's lots of health benefits. We strive to have a high-level experience where when they come in the door, they can sense it's a friendly atmosphere, it's clean. They know we sell food products here and we want it to be spotless. So all of your senses should be elevated when you come to the heart of the desert. It should be a great experience, and most people find that to be true. Our address is 7288 Highway 54-70 in between Alamogordo and Tularosa, New Mexico. So we're right dead center between the 2 towns. We're open 7 days a week, and we open at 8 o'clock in the morning and close at 6 o'clock in the evening. We don't open until 9 on Sunday. Heart of the Desert has an active website, and that is www.heartofthedesert.com. Easy to remember. And then you can see us on our Facebook. Actually, my very favorite is the nut right off the tree before anything is done to it. It's wonderful. But then I'll go to the salted and roasted pistachio. That's my favorite. And for us, it's the people, living around people that we want to live around, that we enjoy living around. So we're here by choice.
The garden goes back to the 90s when our chapter of the Native Plant Society planted the garden initially. But then there was a long gap in people coming up here and actually taking care of the garden. Our current chapter finally decided we needed to take care of the garden again. The Native Plant Society of New Mexico is a nonprofit organization that strives to educate the public about native plants by promoting knowledge of plant identification, ecology, and uses, fostering plant conservation and the preservation of natural habitats, supporting botanical research, and encouraging the appropriate use of native plants to conserve water, land, and wildlife. So around 300 native plants at Dripping Springs. And we have been working on adding plants that actually grow here, locotillos, soto, all the agaves, and the barrel cactus. Those are perfectly fine things for people to have in their yards. Any cacti species that is native are appropriate for people's gardens.
The community needs to know more about the native plants, how it supports the local ecology of the insects and hummingbirds, butterflies pollinate the flowers, and they're dependent on it's like the food chain, everything interrelates. So if you take away the plants, all the animals that are around here will eventually go away too. We come out about once every month on the average, sometimes every 2 weeks, depending on what needs to be done. People are welcome to come help out without being members. You can get in touch with any of us in the organization to find out about how to volunteer or help out.
So we always have a monthly meeting with a speaker and a monthly field trip, and anybody can come. They can go to our website, which is npsnm.org. It's an honor, I think, to have these plants in our yard, and they're very special.
An Alamogordo business is helping area gardeners while also helping all of us by reducing water use. Fiona St. Pierre reports.
Between social distancing and isolation, many of us are looking for something to do. One option is to get out back and create a garden. However, living in the Southwest, we must be aware of the water we're using. Jennifer Clark deals with gardens both professionally and personally. She is an avid backyard gardener, and she told me about an Alamogordo product that is helping residents create healthy gardens and why that is so important.
Because of the fact that you are able to conserve water. That's the big thing. You don't need as much water to take care of your plants. And the pods and the pellets and everything break down in the water, and it actually feeds the root system all at one time. So it makes it really easy for us to use them, and just for your environment, because of the fact that, yeah, we're all on restrictions during the summertime and we can't use that water.
And the results were more than saving water and money. She had a bumper crop, and one squash made it all the way to the top.
And I thought, oh my goodness, I've got this awesome squash. I'm going to enter it and see what happens. And so I entered it into the fair and ended up winning grand champion of the fair with my squash.
Big prizes aside, according to a report from the Hamilton Project, water use in New Mexico averages around 107 gallons per person per day. And the Environmental Protection Agency claims that as much as 50% of the water we use outdoors is lost due to wind, evaporation, and runoff caused by inefficient irrigation methods and systems. It was a ring like this that Jennifer used to grow that award-winning squash. It doesn't seem very special, just pressed organic material, but to get to this finished product took over 15 years of research and development. And at a nondescript factory tucked away along Route 70, a New Mexican is working to cure pellets that have a similar makeup of the drought ring. It's a small operation, but as founder Glenn Bell tells me, these products can have a big impact.
I looked at hundreds of years of science and found out that if you can take a broad spectrum, wide base compost products, not just one, but multiple thereof, you can attract the widest variety of microbiological life. The widest variety of microbiological life is going to give you the widest variety and health of the environment and the planet.
And healthy soil is a big deal in New Mexico. The Healthy Soils Act was passed last year with the goal of restoring much of New Mexico's agricultural land. But it was more than just soil or business for Glenn. The poverty rate in New Mexico is around 19.5%. And according to a report by the New Mexico Voices for Children, low-income families are more likely to suffer from food insecurity, and they have to spend a much larger portion of their income on food purchases than middle or upper-income families.
I was asked a long time ago to figure out a way to grow food in drought for poor people on a whole lot less knowledge, a whole lot less water, a whole lot less cost, right? So after lots of years of work and development and research, we figured out how to do it. And so we ended up with a product that can grow 100 to 50, 170% on less than 1 to 2% of the water and less than 5% of the effort, and it cost about 6 cents a pound finished product.
This system can benefit large-scale outfits, such as cities, who have large amounts of turf to maintain.
You think about an average city, we'll take the mean, Alamogordo's a mean. They have 300 to 350 acres of manicured turf they take care of. All that needs to be watered. They'll do an average per watering cycle somewhere around 1/3 of an acre foot, which is about 100,000 gallons, right? So if you can take 66% of that out, now that 100,000 gallons of water is turned into 33,000 gallons of water. How many households could live on 66,000 gallons of water?
With temperatures rising consistently and water always an issue in southern New Mexico, it will take innovative solutions to protect the resources we have now. For KRWG Public Media, I'm Fiona St. Pierre.
Hannah, congratulations on being named a top
Thank
teen.
you.
Hey, great to have you here. I want to start with a little bit about some of the activities you've been involved with at school.
Of course. So I want to say that there's 3 main activities that I'm involved in, and that's definitely going to be student government, mock trial, and National Honor Society. Mock trial has been a big part of my high school experience. It's this big national club, and of course they split it up into state sectors, but we all get a case, we get to review the case and play as lawyers in a real courtroom when the time for competition comes. So that takes a lot of time. I like to practice for it, like to put a lot of time into it. Outside of mock trial, it's a lot of student government, meetings every week before the school starts. So it's hard waking up, but you know, still do it.
Great experience.
Yeah, it is. And then after that, let's see, National Honor Society, I want to say is definitely what takes up most of my time though. We do a lot of community work through that, and I've been an officer for 2 years now over at Arrowhead. So
That's great. Let's talk about community service. I know it comes through National Honor Society and other ways. Tell me about some of the activities you've been involved with.
We have done quite a few things, especially with Arrowhead being one of the biggest sectors for National Honor Society in Las Cruces, if not the biggest, I do believe. In fact, this morning we had a really big one over at Fair Acres Elementary where we painted their bathroom stalls. It was called Installing Inspiration, so we painted some inspirational quotes, did all that. That was one thing this morning, but we do a lot of community work, especially with little kids. We try to offer our services to elementary schools. We try to do tutoring to middle schools. We really just, wherever they need us, we'll go. I want to say that some of our biggest events have probably been the Renaissance Fair. Every year we get invited to go volunteer at the Renaissance Fair. It was a lot of fun. We definitely got to help out the community a lot, but pretty much any big city event, you'll probably see us there in our National Honor Society t-shirts because we do a lot here.
That's great. So tell me about your plans for the future.
Well, I currently am on track to becoming a chemical engineer. At Arrowhead, we do early college, so I will finish with my associates at the end of high school. I'm going to finish with my associates of science, and then after that, whatever college will take me. I have a few acceptances, but I'm still just seeing what my options are, but I would love to go into chemical engineering. I know that there's a lot of help needed right now with the environment, and chemical engineering being such a diverse profession. I could really choose anything after that, so I really would like to enter the environmental area of chemical engineering, kind of just help out and see what we can do next.
That's fabulous. Well, good luck with that,
Thank
and
you.
again, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
That's our time for now. Join us this week on KRWG Radio. Every weekday, it's Morning Edition, 5 to 9, Fresh Air at 11, followed by Here and Now, noon to 2, and All Things Considered, 4 to 7. KRWG News is always online at krwg.org, and we'd love to hear from you. Email us with your story ideas and video submissions. The address is feedback@nmsu.edu. For all of us at KRWG News, I'm Fred Martino. Have a great week. We'll see you next time on Newsmakers.